When you show up in the studio and begin creating a series or even a single piece of art, do you have a plan, a purpose? In other words, does intent matter? Well, of course it does. Absolutely, because creating with intent means you are fully aware of what you're doing, where you're going with that art. You are very purposeful. Here's what I do personally and what I teach in my workshops. Write a few words down on a piece of paper, tape it to the wall, and have it front and center while you're creating. So I also have this list of prompts, questions you can ask yourself. So let's go over them and I'll share with you what I do to help keep intent front and center. The first item is ask yourself, why are you creating this piece or this series? What is the purpose of the artwork? So, is the art making a statement about a social issue? Is it about the environment or social injustice? Are you making the piece of art because you want to translate the beauty and awe of the natural world onto canvas? Or are you simply being creative and making a piece of art that will go in some decor in some home? Once you define what the purpose of the art is, then you want to define who your audience is. Creating art means keeping the viewer in mind, so I want you to ask yourself, who are you creating this for? And remember, you're not creating this for everybody. You have a specific audience in mind. And the second part of that is, what do you think the viewer wants to take away? Because this is an experience. It's the viewer and the art together experiencing. So be specific about who you're creating for and what you want them to have as the experience. The second item on my list is, what story are you telling through your art? Now, with abstract art, it's really important because a story, a background story, helps translate your art. It should have an interesting theme, a plot, characters, passages. And for example, this piece behind me is from the Solitude series from last winter. So the story I was telling in my Solitude series was about the beauty and the sacredness of spending the winter alone. So the third thing to ask yourself is, what is the energy, the mood, the feel? So it could be as electric as a rock concert, or like the Solitude series, it could be about quiet reflectiveness, being alone in the softness of the winter. Fourth question to ask yourself is, what colors support your intent of your art? So in this piece, soft whites and grays laid the background, and then over top came some muted blues and very soft mauve. These are the winter colors that are very muted and kind of faded out. The fifth thing to ask yourself is, what shapes, lines, movements support your art? So for instance, if you're painting joy, does that translate to like confetti-like sparks of color dancing across the canvas? Or are you painting something a little darker, a little moodier, with heavy, thick black lines? The sixth thing to ask yourself is, what substrate, medium, tools will support the purpose, the story? And do you have those all laid out, ready to go? So are you planning on painting something thick and heavy paint with a spatula over a wood panel? Or are you planning on doing something more light, like gently kissing a piece of paper with light strokes of watercolor brush? So how does all that medium play into the story of your art? These 6 questions will get you to the purpose of why you are creating. And the more you create with intent, the more successful you will be as an artist. And while there's no right or wrong in a piece of art, the artistic intention that you're giving to the viewer and what the viewer sees ultimately determines whether your art is successful. Is it honest? Is it innovative? In other words, it's your artistic voice clearly coming through when you create with intent.